Hi there. Today we're going to talk about the distinction between ease and flow and what to do about when to choose what and how to bring yourself into a state of natural flow. That's not the same thing as ease. So there is a misconception that flow feels easy. And so if something doesn't feel right or feel easy, then it must not be in my flow state. It must not be right for me. It must not be the right decision for me to act on or any of those things. So there is a concept out there that talks about flow, but has been morphed into ease. That, if it's easy, then it'll flow. And, because our flow state is that, natural state of moving along and getting things done, but somehow ease ended up in there. So I'd like to share with you the analogy that really talks about actual flow is if you're following a creek, if you've ever just kind of sat by a beautiful creek, just bubbling along. Now, the reason that it bubbles along and has those beautiful sounds to it is because it does butt up against obstacles. Things happen. It is not easy to be a molecule of water flowing down a creek. Yes, you are in constant motion. Yes, you're not necessarily making these, conscious, hard, do I turn here? You're just following the flow. You're following the flow. But there are times where you will hit a rock, you will hit a log or a stick. There are times where you will enter in to a section that has you swirling around a bit before coming back out and finding the new direction. There are times where you might smash into a rock and splash up and over it, or smash into something and be redirected around it. It's not easy. It's not always easy to flow. Yes, the flow state takes you to where you're naturally meant to be or where you would like to be, but it's not always easy. In fact, the reality is when it comes to hitting up against the boundary, very often it's the choice that feels a little bit harder that is the best way around and to continue the flow. The easy thing to do when you hit a barrier, when you hit a rock, is to just sit there and hope that some exterior force, a loved one, a friend, the universe, your God, your spirit guides, your whatever, will magically come in and pick you up and lead you somewhere else. But the reality is, your God, your spirit guides, the universal energy, you yourself needs to make these choices on your own. It is you that takes the action, and then the support comes from external sources when you are taking the action. And so when you are that piece of water that hits the rock versus just sinking and sitting there, it does take more energy. It's harder to kind of look around. Well, what's over here? Oh, no, what's over here? And then find your swirl and find your way around in consistent motion. Ease comes from sitting still. As soon as you hit a barrier, you sit still. Flow is a state of constant motion. Flow does not sit still. Flow does not just sink. Flow is in constant motion. If it's the right direction of motion or not. It's just continuing to move, knowing that one way or another, it will find the way to the next place. So, when faced with a decision, and one of them has the energy of ease, of it feels just as easy as sitting on the couch. And one of them feels as easy as getting up, getting dressed, going outside, going for a jog, if that's where your focus is, if your focus is on becoming a runner or working on, that type of thing for yourself. If it feels more like it will take more energy, but knowing it's taking me one step closer, that's the flow state. The consideration of staying on the couch is just hitting a stone in the creek. That's all it is. It doesn't have to be permanent. It's just the thought of having the choice to sit there is just hitting a stone. And then you get to choose. Do you sink or do you stay in flow? And that's how all these decisions go, even for relationship decisions, maybe getting out of a relationship that you know is not healthy for you. Yes, it takes more energy to keep moving, to stay in flow and find your way out. But on the other end of that stone, on the other end of the flow, you're continuing to move forward. It's the same thing for staying in a relationship that is known to be healthy and good for you. But again, takes that energy, that constant movement of flow, that constant attention to it in order to get around and continue in flow. So it's about the difference between ease and flow. And yes, being in that flow state is the most natural place to be. It is the way to get to where you're going the easiest in the end. Not in the moment when you hit the rock, but in the end. So consistently moving towards the goal, consistently taking action, no matter what it is what allows you to stay in the flow state. But do remember, it usually takes a little bit more energy to do the thing that will continue the flow than once you hit that barrier, than just sitting still. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your flow state is. What are you looking to move towards? How can you flow? And please let me know any questions or anything else you'd like to hear me talk about. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Tuesday.